kesempatan bagi saya untuk hadir di sini di Paris. Nama saya Jay, saya baru selesai PhD Economics dari UIUC, University.
Namanya J.
Ya, Jay Sarafi.
J, oke.
And I'll be teaching monetary economics at Williams College this coming fall. This coming fall semester.
Perfect timing, huh?
Yeah, good time. I want to ask a follow-up question on the economic side of your deliberation. Right? So you said Indonesia is having economic problem because of imprudent fiscal policy. Let's say that. What would you do differently if you were the president? And then second, on the democracy and then the institutional building. I see its deterioration in the last 15 years. You know, I saw SBA government to be like more like reformist, and there's positive improvement in that institutional building sense. How would you see Indonesia's institutional building in the next 5-10 years? Because it seems like it's getting worse and worse every year. Thank you.
Do you have suggestion?
Hi, Finance. I'm Bambang from Northwestern University. I'm studying sociology. I think building up on J, I'd just be curious in general, reflecting on your career in politics so far. What would you have done differently? You know, something that you achieved, something that the challenge that you also face. I'm just curious, what would you have done differently if you have, time to turn back time, for example? I'm just curious about that. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Iskandar Zubroto. I live in Indiana. Based on your information, that it looks like that Indonesia now is like a sick elephant. Elephant is big, but it is sick right now. So it needs something to do, or somebody to how to to fix the problem. So you said about the problem is in the economy right now, the democracy, and the disintegration. I believe it's on the political issue also. So what is your opinion about the leader who will lead the Indonesia in the future? Is it from the military background or political background or economic? Or it looks like we have to have a very tough situation there, very challenging situation there. Thank you.
Mungkin perempuan.
Halo Pak Anies, good morning. Saya Dionis Pak dari UIC Chicago. Saya asal dari Bangka Belitung.
Panggilan siapa? Nama panggilan?
Sorry,
Nama panggilan?
Dio. So I'm here as a Fulbright student and taking my master's degree in language and literacy. And as you know that we are working on literacy and numeracy issues in Indonesia. And as a teacher, I will be back. I have to go back after finishing my study. And I'm wonder what would you suggest as Pak Anies and also as the former Minister of Education of Indonesia, what should we do in terms of helping our students to get more on their literacy and numeracy skills? Because actually right now, it is one of our big issues in Indonesia, where actually our students can read well, of course, in Bahasa Indonesia, but somehow it is quite hard for them to understand what the text talk about. And actually, I'm facing that issues in our education, especially in Bangka Belitung. So I'd like to ask you, I'd like to know your thoughts and also your suggestion. For me, especially as a teacher, what should I do when I go back? What should I need to focus on when I go back as a teacher? Thank you.
Let me address the last questions, Dio. on your role. Are you a teacher?
Yes.
What level?
Junior high school.
Junior high school. And you're here with Fulbright.
Yes.
Doing what program?
I'm taking education, especially in language, literacy, and learning. Actually.
So after you finish, you will come back
Yes.
to what city?
Bangka Belitung,
Bangka
especially in I live in Pangkal Pinang,
Pangkal Pinang.
capital city, but I work at a small junior high school in.
And you'll be teaching there.
Yes.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. It's such a noble job, and you're doing that with your experience here. You can be an inspiration. So if I were asked what should I do, my answer would not be technical. My answer would be an inspiration, be a role model, be somebody that parents in your city were telling their children, study like Dea. Is that her name? Dio. Study like Dio. And be an inspiration, truly, so that parents, teachers in that area will be inviting you to share your experience of studying here. So that would be much more impactful rather than the technicalities. Dio, you must not see yourself only being a leader in a classroom. You must see yourself being a leader in the community. That's how you should project yourself. So don't only focus about practical aspect of teaching, but also your role in the community. And I think you have much more opportunity to influence many. And this is also, if I may suggest to all of you here, if you're still studying, share your experience. Just use this. When you visit library, when you visit campus, when you're on campus, and send those recording to your high school teachers. Send those recording to your elementary school teachers. And this is, so when you record it, you said this is specifically a message for this high school, my alma mater. I'm here because of the education I get in that high schools, and here I'm enjoying all this facility, and I hope many of you coming from the same high school can, do what I'm experiencing and perhaps more. So being an inspiration, I think that is much more impactful. Now, having said that, what is important in Indonesia today is to make reading as a habit. As a habit. So habituation is the key. Diajarkan, dibiasakan, jadi kebiasaan, jadi budaya. Budaya is the last stage. So you teach them, you make them habit, it becomes a habit, it becomes a culture. Once it's there, then you're home free. Bagaimana caranya? Allow them to read whatever they like. The problem often with our schools, we are forced to read readings that we don't like. Boring, thick, and not interesting. So change that. Take them to a bookstore or a library and let them choose the book that they like. The only commitment they have to make is they will finish cover to cover. That's why I like when a few years ago Harry Potter novel was popular. I'm not a fan of the story itself, but I like the fact that our children reading those books. Why? Because those are thick book, 300 pages, 400 pages. It gives children confidence. I am able to read 400 pages. Because if you have not done so, then whenever you see, thick book, then you're intimidated. So allow your children to experience that. Itu ya. Tapi Dio, from now on, share your stories back home. Teman-teman, jangan takut dengan istilah ria. Mengganggu betul itu. Iya, sebel saya dengan istilah itu. Bukan saya nggak suka istilah ria, bahwa itu dilabelkan kepada anak-anak yang sedang belajar di sini. Kenapa? Karena Anda di sini memang harus nunjukin. Harus. Jadi kalau Anda nanti merasa sombong, jangan. Ini Boleh dibilang ini fatwa gitu. Ini perintah nih. Ini perintah nih. Anda sombong. Anda bukan sombong dalam arti negatif. Kirimkan itu ke sekolah Anda, kirimkan itu ke guru Anda. Jadi anak-anak di sana ingin bisa seperti ini. Teman-teman, karena kita di sini, because we all are here, we feel it's just normal. It's just, I'm just one of so many Indonesian students here. But back home, you are special. And realize that role.
Make it as personal.
Yeah, being an elite is perfectly fine. Being exclusive, that's not fine. Okay? So, because when you're talking about elite is selected. That's why it's called elite. Elite squad, elite basketball team. Those are because of your qualification, you become an elite. But don't create an exclusive engagement. Be inclusive, but retain that status as an elite. Jadi itu ya. Terus Pak Bambang and Pak Iskandar both talking about politics, and Pak Bambang asked me about how would I do it differently. Saya pernah ditanya begini Pak Bambang, Pak Anies menyesal nggak ikut pilpres? Terus saya jawab, saya mau tanya balik, menyesal nggak yang nggak milih kemarin? Karena kelihatannya pertanyaan kedua itu lebih relevan gitu, daripada yang pertama. Jadi, Bambang, I feel blessed because so many of this opportunity, and I said it as an opportunity, it's never came to my mind when I was in NIU. When I was studying, never came to my mind. When I was here, I finished my program in 2003, actually, not 2005. But I choose to work before I return. And the rules for J1 visa was, if you defended your dissertations, then you're considered as finished your study. Is it true until today? Yeah. Okay, so it's not the graduation date, but it's the defense of dissertation, right? So I thought about it. If I defended my dissertations, then I'm required to return. And all my funding at that time was from the US, from assistantship and from scholarship, all are in the US. I received 0 rupiah from government of Indonesia, nothing. And I received nothing from scholarship from back home. All scholarship I had is from the US. Because of that, there is no return tickets in the cost structure, right? If you receive funding from Indonesia, part of the expenses is return tickets. So I decided, and I had, as Basri said earlier, we came with 1 girl, and we're returning with additional 2 boys. Okay, and those extra seats, Indonesia is far away, too far to swim. It's just impossible, and so we had to buy plane tickets. The only reason I work is so I can finance my return, and I can settle down in Jakarta independently. Of course, I could make a few phone calls to business leaders or big donors. I'm returning. Can you help buying the tickets? And I can assure we can get those tickets. But I did not want to come back to Indonesia with beban, with burden that I have to pay back to somebody. So that's why I work. And I work at Bannockburn. Bannockburn is north of O'Hare. There's a company called IPC International. It's an association of electronic manufacturer. I was a research manager there. So I worked there a year and a half from beginning of 2004 until end of 2005. And during that period, when I worked, the company actually thinking of sponsoring. They did not realize I'm a J1, and there is no way a J1 can turn into a green card status and everything at that time. And I plan to return. And this I remember, my boss called me when I said I'm going to resign. Anies, be responsible. Be a responsible father. Okay? Everybody wants to live in the US. Your children will have much better education, will have much better future if they live here in the US. And we are preparing to sponsor you. And on top of that, Indonesia and Asia were experiencing SARS. SARS was a flu burung. Just like pandemic that we experienced COVID, but it was epidemic because only in Asia. Everybody tried to leave Asia and you're going to fly to Asia. You know, it just doesn't make sense. That's why he said be responsible. So my reply was this. I have 3 criteria when I choose a job or a career. 1, intellectually growing. In this job, fulfill that. As a research manager, I had access to all literature, I have access to all applications and everything. Number 2, financially strong. Oh yeah, being considered as a PhD graduate, even though I have not received my diploma yet, you're considered as a PhD, working there, it was good pay, very good pay. Number 3, socially impactful. And I told him, with IPC, working here in the US, I cannot fulfill this 3rd one. Going back home, I have the opportunity to fulfill the 3rd one, being socially impactful. And what kind of job that meet those 3 criteria? Dosen. Dosen. Being a lecturer at the university, being a professor in university, or working for international development institutions. That's what I had in mind, Bambang. So when I came back, and then opportunity open up, and often beyond my control. I never imagined, a year later, invited to join Paramadina. I never imagined that in 2014, I was invited to join the government of Pak Jokowi. It's not like I'm joining a political party and pursuing that route. So I've been blessed with all this opportunity, including competing in the presidential election. I see that as a privilege, that I did not have a political party, and until today, I don't have a political party. And being nominated to run for a presidency, I see that as a privilege, but also as a moral obligations. That's why our campaign, a year and a half, almost 2 years, I saw that as a spiritual journey, because you had an opportunity to engage with millions of people, not in the form of a rally with thousands of people, but we organized, it's called the Sak Anis, where we have a town hall meeting with electorate can ask anything, and it was those engagement as well as other hundreds of engagement. I visited more than 135 districts during a year and a half period. So I was so grateful, Bambang, with this opportunity. And why I said I would not think differently, this is the thing. Our election is no different than other election in the world. There is no perfect election, so don't expect a perfect election. There must be irregularities must be there. It will always be there, even here in the US. There's no perfect elections. Unfortunately, the last election the irregularity was rather different. And I'm not saying this because we are the losing party. We are presenting the case in the court, and 3 out of 8 judges agree with our findings. In the past, if this is an election date, intervention is always on the election day and after the election day. So you're working on the numbers, trying to add up here and there. After election, this time, it was before the election. Because it was before the election, it was much more difficult to prove. Because intervention happening before the elections. Give you an example. Kepala desa, head of village, being gathered by local law enforcement authority, and they all said, you all have to vote for X candidate. If X candidate lost in your village, we will audit village fund. And they have received village fund for more than 10 years and never audited. So audit is one of the scariest words for any kepala desa, for any head of village across Indonesia. across Indonesia. And after that meeting, they all going back to their community and said, let's vote for X. That will secure. And this is happening across Indonesia, mostly in Central Java, West Java, and Eastern Java, where the population is large. So what's the impact? You look at Ganjar Pranowo's number, not Anies. I'm not talking about Anies. I'm talking about Ganjar Pranowo. His numbers in Central Java is always 60 to 65%, always, constant. On the election day, 31%, gone. He can retain his support in the urban area, but not in the rural conversion. So let's be honest on this. This is a problem. We presented to the Constitutional Court, and there is a scholar at Fit Adrison. He's an economist at Faculty of Economics, University of Indonesia. He is now collaborating with a scholar in Michigan, and he will publish his findings. His findings with modeling and econometrics as well as surveys were presented at the court, showing that the election intervention took place before. Those are the threatening approach. What about the incentive? The program Bantuan Sosial, strategically delivered, and also the traveling of Pak Jokowi. So the fact that we did not win the elections because of many of this intervention, it makes us feel like, oh, we're so grateful. With all this intervention, we're able to get 25%. This 25%, it's a quarter, it's 40 million people, 41 million people to be specific. These are groups of individuals being threatened but not changed, being offered subsidy but not changed. They wanted to see Indonesia to have a change. So on that part, we are so grateful. So in the future, what needs to be fixed is ensuring our election to be improved, especially the role of government to be more neutral. That's most important. Anybody who runs for office will need that. It doesn't matter they're within government or outside the government. They will need neutrality of our system. So what I would suggest to all of you, when you look at election in Indonesia, let's look at how the organizer, the KPU, how the state is playing a neutral role. If they're not, we need to speak up. Okay, gitu leaders, future leader of Indonesia, those who are elected by the people. I still believe that we need to have election and allow leaders to be popularly elected. Now, we need to work much harder on educating our electorates. However, Indonesians were learning fast. What I'm worried in the future is not about the individuals. What I'm worried is that as long as our economy had a large portion is underground economy, we will always have problems in our politics. Today, underground economy contribute 22 to 25% of our economy, the second largest in the world. It is those funding that support so many political activities. In mature democracy, political financing is regulated. In Indonesia, political financing is not yet regulated. So whoever is running for office, they'll have to deal with this problem. We face this problem too. So, but it's not so much about the criteria. The criteria, I think, is to be elected. And once you're elected with proven track records, a lot can be done. And I'll talk about it as I answer the first questions from Jay. If I may suggest to Bapak Presiden, then I would suggest in the first few days in his office, or even before starting the term, because he had the privilege of 8 months preparation. Victory was in February, inauguration was in October. So you have 8 months to prepare. So what I would suggest, I would suggest one, to talk to key stakeholders in every sectors. Give you an example. You invited university presidents and said, I will be inaugurated in October. You tell me what I should do for ISU. One, what are the good things, what are the good policy that I need to continue? Number two, what are good policy but need revisions? Number three, the bad policy that I need to discontinue. And number four, what are the new things that I need to create? Four things. You talk to university professors, they'll come back to you. You talk to mining industry. You talk to the export industry. You talk to every sectors. Ask them, what do you need? Because I will be an authority and my job is to ensure that all those problems addressed in four aspects. This is the tendency of a newly elected leaders. Focus on the fourth one. What are the new things I will innovate? Forget about the first three. In any government office, you have to adjust, you have to manage continuity and change. Because there is an aspect of continuity. So those four questions, Ajay, was forgotten. You enter office and you focus only the last one. Give you an example. You created Koperasi Desa, which is good. But do you also check how many desa already have kooperasi? Do you check how many desa already have BUMDes? What about the coastal villages? What about the highland villages? There's so much variation there. So having those four questions laid out at the beginning would make things a lot easier. And this is the way I did it when I started my job in Jakarta. We were granted victory in April and inaugurated in October. So I have 6 months. During that 6 months, I'm inviting various different groups for those four questions. So when you entered office, immediately you delivered four things. So that's number one. Number two, when you have authority, does not automatically transfer into knowledge and understanding of the situation. Yes, you have authority, but you may not have the knowledge. You may not have, so listen, and listen. In the first few months in the office, listen more than instruction. Because you will be able to sort of absorb and help, especially in the economy. Why I say this? In the past, state contributed much bigger than the private sectors. Today's economy, our private sector is way much bigger. And it's continue to get bigger and bigger. So government must see private sectors, our market, as entity that should be supported. What kind of regulation that is needed? What kind of intervention that is needed? What kind of incentive and disincentive that is needed? So you talk to the private sectors and ask simple questions. How can I make you grow bigger? Government will receive tax. Although our tax ratio is only 9%. For non-economists here, what does it mean, 9%? 9% is this. You have 100 million economic activities, 100 million, but only 9 million were taxed. The other 95 millions were non-taxable. So the bigger your tax ratio, the better is the economy, the better is the government income. Because more and more of economic activities were taxable. Our ratio is only 9%, and we have not increased that for many, many years. So with that, allow the economy to grow. Number three, you have experienced macet in Jakarta, right? Any of you see Jakarta not macet? Raise your hand. Yeah, not macet. Jakarta is actually not that macet, Pak. If you drive at 2 o'clock in the morning, it's just all, you go all over the city and there is no macet there. There is a simple rule of thumb in the traffic officer in Jakarta. be it the police or be it the Department of Transportation. So all traffic officers have simple rules, unwritten, but they always practice it. What is that unwritten rules? When there is traffic jam, there is no tickets. There's no tickets. You are not issuing tickets when there is a traffic congestion. The heavier the congestion, the less tickets being issued. Why? Because you need the traffic to flow. You're focused on making sure the traffic is moving, not on enforcing the rules and regulations. So for example, Jakarta has an odd and even plate numbers timing. So there is a day that only odd numbers, plate numbers can pass by, and only even numbers. You know what happened? If there is a congestion, even if you're on the wrong day, you're riding an odd number in the even dates, you should be stopped and ticketed. But if it is a traffic congestion, they're not going to do it. Let's make sure you're moving, because if you stop one car, it'll make the traffic congestion much worse. Why do I say this? When the economy is having congestion, don't focus on law enforcement. It's scared of every market players. Okay? Especially when the cases were old cases. Pak Nadiem was being charged for an issue that was happening 5 years ago. Tom Lembong was charged because of an issue that was happening. What was that? It was 10 years ago. So those are old cases being charged today. What message you're sending to all business players today? Wow, this is not a friendly environment. I move back, I stop. So my suggestion is learning from the traffic officer in Jakarta. It doesn't mean they will go unpunished. No, keep all those files, keep all those investigations alive. Bring it up in the 3rd year or 4th year of your office, but not this year. But if you do it this year, you slow down the economy. And that's a simple analysis for that. So that would be my answer, Jay. Terima kasih. And good luck on your job.